But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it.
You let them in. You let them in and you knew what they were. Right. So you are complicit. I want to make a quick clarification about the neo-Nazis at the Turning Point event. They were outside protesters. My point was more metaphorical, that you embraced them at your thing, I felt.
But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and it was totally baked and half baked, and you went on stage with it, and it's nothing.
Things just got wild. Whoopi Goldberg completely lost it after Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk teamed up and absolutely tore into her. So what exactly did they say, and how did Whoopi go from calm to full-blown meltdown faster than you can say awkward TV moment buckle up? Because this fiery clash is juicier than your favorite drama series, and you won't want to miss a single second.
Welcome back. In Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me, and it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry. Okay. So, the state...
You know that feeling when a legend starts to stumble like watching a train wreck in slow motion? At first, it's just a misstep, but then it spirals into a full-blown circus. That's exactly what happened when Whoopi Goldberg decided to jump headfirst into the political mud pit. What followed was a brutal takedown. Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk, two voices from completely different worlds, each armed with their own brand of verbal napalm, didn't officially team up, but it sure felt like they tag-teamed to roast Whoopi in ways she probably never saw coming.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept the View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there, of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country, that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked.
Charlie Kirk, founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and author of The College Scam, was recently asked whether he accepts the View's apology. Whether or not I personally accept it isn't really the issue, Kirk responded. The real question is whether our students accept it. That's what matters most. The View didn't just come after me. I'm a public figure and used to being falsely attacked. But they targeted our 5,000 students at that event, high school and college kids, many just 16 or 17 years old, who traveled from all across the country. Now they're being forced to carry the burden of being falsely associated with extremism because someone at ABC suggested they might be linked to neo-Nazis. To understand the uproar, let's rewind. Whoopi Goldberg, actress, comedian, and a constant presence in pop culture, waded into a powder keg of controversy. Whether it was about race, politics, or another cultural flashpoint, her comments struck a nerve. The topic was already volatile, and when she spoke, it was like lighting a fuse. You could practically hear the whistle before the blowback.
Culture shift between right and left authoritarianism, and now people don't recognize that if you just stop looking at it in terms of red and blue, look at the actions, whether it's war, suppression of free speech, pharmacological interventions that are mandatory, right. whatever it is, that used to all be associated with the authoritative right, the authoritarian right, and now those things are being embraced by the left. And I just think it's just an ideology thing. I think we get confused and we think we're on the right side. We're on the right side. And if it's our side that's saying this, for sure that's the right thing to do. And no one's critically thinking about this.
Joe Rogan is the gateway drug for young men that thought they were Democrats to become MAGA. Joe Rogan is the bridge. And on that bridge, they'll see RFK. They'll see Elon.
Enter Joe Rogan, not your average media commentator. He's that guy who's soaked up 1,000 podcasts, dipped into everything from psychedelic science to cage fighting, and shows up ready to dismantle nonsense with zero sugarcoating. Rogan doesn't play nice or pull punches. He's a verbal pit bull, locking in with relentless intensity until the argument taps out.
The reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last weekend.
Yeah, they have nothing else to talk.
So Joe hears what Whoopi said, and it's like watching someone try to explain quantum physics with oven mitts on, clumsy, confused, and destined to go off the rails. With his signature hold my Komboka energy, Joe dives in. And by dives in, we mean he dismantles her argument, rips it apart, and leaves it more shredded than a pile of discount cheese bags. Joe doesn't just challenge her points, he runs them through the industrial grinder of logic, skepticism, and a heavy dose of "are you kidding me?" His style isn't subtle. It's like a verbal cage fight where he shows up with a chainsaw instead of gloves. Assumptions called out, flimsy logic exposed. The result, a brutal, no-nonsense masterclass in public dissection. Then there's Charlie Kirk in the opposite corner. If Joe's the slow-burn tactical assassin, Charlie's the political flamethrower. He talks like a caffeine-fueled auctioneer and hits with the precision of a samurai sword. Where Joe grinds down the argument, Charlie jabs fast and hard. To him, Whoopi's comments aren't just wrong, they re the poster child for everything broken in the modern media elite.
Is that show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in. You know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman and they yell over her and silence her. And, you know, they did that with Meghan McCain, and they did that with what is that other blonde woman from Survivor? Do you remember her, Jamie? She was always yelling. I mean, it's a bizarre show.
Charlie doesn't bother with niceties. He charges in with a barrage of razor-sharp critiques that sound like they were drafted by a sarcastic 14-year-old who just discovered political Twitter and hasn't looked back. He mocks the contradictions, torches the performative virtue signaling, and paints Whoopi as the walking embodiment of everything tone-deaf in celebrity commentary. His words don't just land, they hit like a freight train, flattening her stance and leaving it wheezing for relevance. Charlie's not interested in nuanced takedowns, he's all about the gut punch. His style is blunt force trauma wrapped in viral-ready sound bites, delivered with the swagger of someone who knows exactly which buttons to smash for maximum outrage and maximum headlines. But here's the twist, Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk never actually shared a stage. There was no tag team takedown, no fiery joint interview, no viral showdown. Instead, it was like two missiles fired from different silos, both locked on to Whoopi Goldberg's argument. The result, a double impact that left her reputation wobbling like a toddler on roller skates downhill.
So I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back, is The View. You want to talk about that show, if the CIA is engineering Antifa and fucking the Capitol riot, some crazy misogynist engineered The View, because there's nothing worse than The View. In terms of, like, there are so many brilliant women out there. None of them are on The View. None of them have gone near the set of The View. I mean, they have brought in the lowest tier of the, what is it, the Y chromosome?
No,
The X. Okay.
Double X.
They brought in the lowest of the double X's for that.
The internet exploded. Memes popped up faster than you could say Whoopi meltdown. Hashtags caught fire, trending across platforms like a digital wildfire. In an instant, Whoopi Goldberg wasn't the untouchable media icon, she was the punchline in a viral comedy that even her most loyal fans struggled to defend. And it wasn't just the usual internet trolls piling on. Media analysts, late-night comedians, and armchair philosophers on Twitter all jumped in to ask the same question: how did a veteran with decades in the spotlight get dismantled so quickly and so thoroughly by two guys who probably wouldn't be in the same room under any other circumstances? The answer: a perfect storm of clashing styles and the ruthless pace of today's public discourse. Joe Rogan brought his slow-burn forensic approach, peeling back every flimsy layer of Whoopi's argument until it collapsed under its own weight. Charlie Kirk, on the other hand, delivered a full frontal assault, bold, brash, and relentless, that bulldozed whatever credibility she had left. What followed was brutal. Watching Whoopi try to recover was like watching a cat realize the vacuum cleaner just kicked back on, stunned, scrambling, and clearly looking for an escape route. But there was no hiding. The cameras were rolling, the tweets were flying, and the whole world was watching.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump, uneducated white women.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump, and they don't want to be called stupid or uneducated.
Here's the twist. Whoopi didn't say a word. No public apology, no clarification, no attempt to reclaim the narrative, just radio silence. Maybe she was regrouping. Maybe she was reevaluating her life choices. Or maybe she figured that saying nothing was safer than digging a deeper hole. But in this case, the silence was deafening, louder than a brass band. It was the sound of a media titan brought to her knees by two wildly different yet equally devastating verbal assaults. And that's what made the whole saga so irresistibly satisfying for fans of a good takedown. Because let's be honest, watching a long-standing media powerhouse get blindsided by two modern-day juggernauts, each with his own brand of intellectual warfare, Joe with his slow-burn philosophical dissection, Charlie with his rapid-fire political firebombs, felt like the ultimate underdog story. Except in this case, the underdogs were forces of nature themselves, and the giant who toppled none other than Whoopi Goldberg. In the end, this wasn't just a celebrity misstep. It was a snapshot of the cultural battleground we live in, where no one, no matter how iconic, is immune to being called out, roasted, and mimied into digital oblivion. The rules of engagement have changed. And if you step into the arena unprepared, you're not just at risk of losing, you're at risk of getting wiped out.
Worried about losing your job, and you're worried about podcasts taking over, and who's the source of news, and we said Donald Trump was Hitler, but half the country disagreed with us, and he won, and this is and Joe Rogan believes in dragons! Do you see what Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said that Biden could arrest all the Republicans and put them in jail. You just need to see how unhinged this kind of thinking is. Well, you know what Joe Biden could do? Joe Biden, you have to see it, because it's so
on TV.
crazy.
She said
on television.
The infamous breakdown. Sounds dramatic, right? Like Whoopi Goldberg's seasoned media powerhouse suddenly crumbled on live TV, clutching tissues and pleading for mercy. But let's be real. This wasn't some Oscar-worthy meltdown or a reality show final gone off the rails. No, this breakdown was subtler, sneakier. It was more like a slow leak in a confidence tire than a fiery blowout. A mix of visible frustration, tonal shifts, and just a hint of, well, this isn't going how I thought it would. Picture it. Whoopi, usually the undisputed queen of snark and lightning-fast comebacks, trying to navigate the storm left behind by Joe Rogan's methodical takedown and Charlie Kirk's verbal sledgehammer. It was like watching a stand-up comic forget the punchline halfway through their best set, awkward telling and weirdly compelling. Her voice, normally so sharp and self-assured, wavered. Just a little, but enough to send a clear signal. This wasn't the breezy commentary zone she thrives in. Was she defending herself? Technically, yes. But it felt more like tossing a life preserver made of wet noodles. The effort was there, but the signature Whoopi fire was nowhere to be found.
I don't want to say too much, but we're going to have a lot of fun at the Department of Education. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Can I tell you something? Like, I've had quite a few people contact me about that particular post. Like, I'm sure I have 1/100th of what you're getting, but people are contacting me about cabinet posts. I'm like, I got
look,
nothing.
I mean, I'm actually, after this conversation, heading to Mar-a-Lago for a week, and we have a lot to sift through, and if I could be helpful, I have asked. I want to be actively involved in all things education, as you can imagine.
10. Instead of snapping back with her usual bite, Whoopi tiptoed through a minefield of facts and counterpoints that kept detonating beneath her. There was some blame-shifting, subtle, polite, the kind only a seasoned pro can pull off when they're clearly caught off guard. But the real giveaway wasn't what she said, it was how she said it. Gone was the trademark sass and sharp retort. In its place, a cautious, measured tone, like someone realizing too late that they've wandered into an entirely different arena. That moment, small, fleeting, quickly became the defining beat in the whole saga. You see, Whoopi's public persona has long been a fortress. Confident, razor-witted, culturally attuned. She's the media world's cool aunt, always knowing what to say, exactly when to say it, but this time a crack showed. Just a few seconds of hesitation, a falter in her usually effortless delivery, and the narrative flipped on its head. The once invincible Whoopi was suddenly human, vulnerable even. And in today's ruthless media ecosystem, that kind of vulnerability is like blood in the water. Critics and commentators pounced. Media analysts framed it as a textbook case of the pressures. Even seasoned voices now face a sign that in the age of hyper-scrutiny, no one is truly untouchable. A humbling reminder, they wrote in think pieces, sipping lattes and nodding gravely. Fans' reactions were split. Some felt sympathy, seeing Whoopi as the victim of an overzealous pile-on. But others, they grabbed their popcorn, reveling in the rare spectacle of a media heavyweight being shaken, a giant momentarily brought to earth.
It is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true.
They get so much hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a rabies-infested.
The general consensus, this moment could mark a turning point for Whoopi's credibility. When your usual armor cracks, you become an easier target, and the long game of media longevity suddenly feels a lot more uncertain. But here's where it gets interesting. This wasn't just a clash between three outspoken personalities. It was a snapshot of the broader cultural battlefield tearing through society. The Whoopi Rogan Kirk saga revealed how the front lines have shifted from quiet editorial meetings and civil panel debates to high-stakes, high-volume arenas where every word is weaponized and every misstep is magnified 1,000-fold. Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk represent two of the loudest, most influential voices in this chaotic landscape, and they couldn't be more different. Rogan's brand of skeptical curiosity and long-form exploration draws in an audience fed up with shallow talking points. Kirk's firebrand conservatism, on the other hand, electrifies a base hungry for bold, unapologetic commentary. Together, they embody the new era of media influence where personalities don't just report on the news. They shape it, direct it, and sometimes detonate it. Whoopi's stumble illustrates just how immense the pressure has become. It's no longer enough for public figures to simply have an opinion. They have to survive the digital gladiator arena that comes with voicing it. In a world where every clip can go viral, every word can be memed, and every reaction dissected in real time, the margin for error is razor thin. Even seasoned pros are one bad takeaway from public unraveling. So who won this battle? If survival is the benchmark, no one walked away completely unscathed. But in terms of influence and impact, Rogan and Kirk landed their blows with precision and reminded the world why their platforms command attention. They didn't just roast a fellow commentator, they demonstrated the power of narrative control in today's cultural war zone. As for Whoopi, a period of recalibration is likely. Some regrouping, maybe a cooling off from the hot takes, but make no mistake, her stumble wasn't just personal. It was symbolic. Because if this saga proves anything, it's that the culture wars are only accelerating. The media spotlight, it's getting hotter, harsher, and far less forgiving. And for the rest of us watching from the sidelines, one thing is crystal clear: this show is far from over. And even legends can fall fast and spectacularly when the heat is on.